Good morning, students. Yesterday we have discussed about the best alternative method, where all methods are classified by simple cash flow method or discounted cash flow category. Okay, in simple cash flow method, we are discuss about the payback period, where we are just consider the projects which have the short lifetime, and we are not consider the time value of the money. Second is the accounting rate of return, which is similar to the payback period, but here we are consider the time value of money. Similarly, third one is the discounted payback period, and this will also selected for the short period of time, but they are also consider the time value of money, but ignore the cash flow behind the payback period. Okay. Then most commonly used are net present value or net present worth. In this part, we are generally consider the lifetime, means cash flow over the lifetime. Secondly, they are also consider the time value of money, and generally this method is used for the huge project cost, and mm, and the and this method does not appropriate means this this method does not provide appropriate selection of any project. Okay. Then after we are discussed about the benefit cost ratio, where we are discuss about the benefit. They are considered the time value of money, incorporate the risk, then cash flow over the entire project, fulfill the business criteria of long-term wealth maximization. But the limitation is that when you got some profit from one project, they cannot plug with the uh, cash outflow for the other projects. Okay. Today we are discussing about the internal rate of return (IRR). IRR method is a superior to NPV or B oblique C ratio, because it does not assume the reinvestment of the earlier cash flow at the given cost of capital. Okay. Secondly, instead it derives the discount rate, which equate the discounted cash flow to the discounted cash outflow. Means when the initial cost you have to apply, then after first, second, third, or fourth year, you have to pay some amount that can be considered on IRR. This gives the benefit for calculating the entire life projects of the entire life of the project with the cash flow. Okay. And this cash flow is means this cash flow is calculated by inflow and outflow both. Secondly, this gives the decision criteria where the where they are means these methods gives the greater than that of current cost of capitals. Means it considers the time value of money, risk in the project, cash flow are considered for the whole life, but the main disadvantage is in the calculation they are using trial and error method, which is the very complex one. Okay, and second one is the cash outflow or losses in subsequent year. It gives two IR, one higher and other is the low. Means when you thinking to take any project, at that time they are gives you the IRR of minimum and maximum value. Secondly, the trial and error method is very complex, but it gives the time value of money, and also determine the what are the risks coming in the projects. Okay. The next topic is the modify internal rate of return. Modify internal rate of return, the decision criteria and the benefits are same as that we are discussed in internal rate of return, but MIRR eliminates the IRR limitation of two IRRs in case of investment cash inflow in subsequence. Means whatever the IR gives two values, they are not provide that one. Okay. Conflict in the capital budgeting decision rule. When we discuss net present value, which is the best method for alternative capital investment, and they are generally gives two main benefit or say advantages. First one is that they are deciding or they are gives the criteria where you are selecting or rejecting the project. It may be a single project or multiple projects. Secondly, they give the ranking in the form of highest to lowest present net present value for comparing which project is more beneficial for the company or give the which one gives the losses. Okay. The favors in case of net present value method are it considers the basic concept of long-term wealth maximization over the period of time. Okay, and thus the value of the firm is enhanced. Means when you are thinking about the long-term project, they gives the basic objectives that can uh, enhance the company or firm. Secondly, they are considered the time value of money through using the discounted future cash flow to the present cash flow. Thus, the parameters are put on equal footing for the comparison because the initial project costs indicate the present value of cash out. Okay. Then third one is the facility of project risk in the cost of capitals through additional the risk premium in the percentage form in the cost of capital which is used for discounting the future cost. Means they are providing the risk in terms of percentage where the management should take the decision where the project is beneficial or means they are harmful the company or firm. Okay. However, it is also to be noted that the some data input of the cash flow, the net present value, of the XC ratio, and the IR method give the complicating conclusion and make the decision making complex and difficult. But when you go for any company or any firm for this type of project they are taking, at that time you have to decide your own which method is much more convenient for you. Okay, and secondly, at the time of taking the decision by the management level, you have to adopt more than two methods because at that time you when you represent your project idea at that time you have to give the give two or more methods and that can explain the whole project idea to the management and the management are very convenient means they give the convenient path for approval or rejection of that project. Okay, so let's start the next topic, which is the reason for decision rule on fuel. Okay, size of the initial project cost means net present value versus B oblique C ratio conflict. The limitation of net present value, which is considered as a best alternative of choosing the following limitations. The net present value is biased towards huge project cost. So when there is a constraint on capital funds availability and the grouping of high net present value ranking on limited project cost is to be considered, a net present value is not considered the best method. Okay, means when you consider the huge project cost, at that time you have the large amount of funds, and at that time net present value cannot be ranking the project cost. So the alternative is the best option when choose the net present value. Secondly, net present value is an absolute method which gives the positive rupees value differences. Sometimes the absolute data gives misleading result. Means when you see the net present value method and you got the something the amount which is in positive sign, that means you got the benefit. But when you see the actual situation, at that time you got the figures in the negative side. That means the company or firm face the losses. So this net present value always gives the positive value. That means they cannot identify the risk part of the process. Okay. Then B oblique C ratio is the relative method of comparison. It is the present. It is presented in the quotient form of numerator and denominator. The denominator is the independent input variable, while the numerator is the dependent output variable. B oblique C ratio gives the unitless pure mathematical value. Means when you give the values, either like say P and P. Okay. P is a part of the project which can be accepted or rejected by the company, and T is the situation of your company. That means the company is means they are capable to take part in take part in the bidding, and uh, can they accept or reject the projects. Means first denominator represent the company situation, and numerator represent the uh, basic idea of the projects. So B oblique C ratio is preferred over net present value to resolve the above two limitation of the NPV. Secondly, cash flow reinvestment assumption means NPV plus PI versus IRR control. Means when you consider, let's start with one company which is A, and it can take two projects B and C. Okay. When you got the profit from B, you can invest the profit to the sea level, and at that time you cannot investing your own amount. Okay, so cash flow reinvestment gives the best option, but it cannot be take part, means this cannot be take part in net present value and PI. So, on this basis, IRR is much more convenient to net present value plus P. Okay, so let's start to see what the writers say. In net present value and PI method, assume the earlier cash inflow are reinvested at the given cost of capital, the current financial cost, but in the real life, the interest cost and thus the cost of capital change over the period of time. So the discounted cash flow used in the present net present value and view with seriously is a uniform cost of capital. Say 12% is not a correct basis of evaluation. Similarly, in this common limitation is eliminated by IRR method because it does not assume any given cost of capital. In fact, IRR derives the cost of capital under trial and error method, and IRR is that discounted rate which equate the discounted cash flow to the discounted present value of cash flow and ultimately initially project cost. At that decision time, the IRR is compared with the current cost of capital, and ultimately IRR is uh, much more convenient, or say, which is much more greater than that of current cost of capital. Okay. Then the third topic is the limitation of IRR. When the future cash flow pattern has intermediately negative cash flow, subsequent loss in upcoming year, then the cash flow pattern has negative cash flow in some future year. IRR is not a unique rate. There are two IRR. Means we are already discussed the IRR method, which is the lowest and the highest value, and thus it provides a faulty criterion of decision making, means faulty criteria for decision making, and the limitation of IRR is corrected by using the method IRR, or say MIRR, modified internal rate of return. In the modified internal rate of return, the cash flow are compounded at some rate and the cash inflow are discounted at the same rate. And the two aggressive values of compounding and this continue over the project life in n years is formulated in MIRR. Okay, and this can use you one basic formula MIRR in percentage is equal to under root of compounded aggregate inflow divided by discounted aggregate outflow minus. Okay, this is the today's lecture. In tomorrow we are discussing about the future work analysis. Thank you very much.